Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back. I was just reading the reviews that she's gotten over the years in doing what she's doing. That is marrying couples in Hawaii, taking care of everything. You don't have to worry about anything. She even officiates the ceremony. Hundreds and hundreds. We're coming up on just shy of 800 ceremonies that she's put together and performed. Just 5-star reviews everywhere. And it's not just her, though. Her husband helps out. We're going to look at this team here that starts wonderful, beautiful, loving new relationships for many couples, potentially you or somebody you know. She is our professional of the year from Simple Kona Beach Weddings. Becky Ringler is back with us. How are you doing today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you. I'm just excited to be talking about this today, actually, Steve. It'll be really fun, I think. So
in the past, you've mentioned that a lot of times during ceremonies, your husband will show up, and it's almost, and I'm going to explain this how I interpreted it. And you tell me if this varies from that, but it's almost as if he's the comic relief. He lightens things up. He takes pictures on his phone, which sounds ridiculous. We have a professional photographer, but so many people, I've heard them actually say, yeah, your husband, he got like some great pictures, some candids, because sometimes the photographer is busy over here, whereby your husband will snap a pic over here. He kind of comes in to support when needed and then kind of bounces out, just doesn't overtake things. Does that sound like what he? This is what I'm hearing.
Sort of. So he doesn't just like show up. People know that he's going to be there. Obviously, it's kind of part of what they get. And I always tell people, photos taken on your cell phone are going to be included. Sometimes it's just like 30 minutes. Sometimes it's an hour-ish, depending on the level of services that we're providing for them. But he is, I would say, 99.9% of the time he is there. Occasionally he is not there. Mm-hmm. They say, hey, we it's a small elopement, and maybe they have somebody who's going to take all the photos, and they're like, we don't need that. But most of the time he is there to do that. And all of my photographers know that. They're comfortable with him. He knows how to stay out of their way. And he is really there. He is, however, like you say, he does provide, so a lot of times we arrive, right? And he is very friendly. I'm very friendly and warm, but he's a really good person. He chats everyone up. And often when I'm busy setting things up, he's there talking with everybody, giving people like advice on the island. And of course he takes a lot of photos on their cell phones typically, unless his phone is nicer, in which case, or my phone is nicer, then he'll take pictures on one of our phones and then we airdrop them or send them a Dropbox or whatnot. But I think, it's fun. We work really well together as a team because if I'm occupied, he's there taking care of things. And I've already gotten to know them, but they haven't met him usually until the day of. And so he gets to really know people. I would say also one of Matt's biggest fortes is that he likes to find, if it's a larger group, is there somebody who looks like they're not having a good time? Or is there, are there some elderly people that maybe are getting forgotten or whatever? He will always make it his mission to make sure that person has a good time. He tries to get that like sullen teenager to smile and have a great time. And we've had couples say, oh my God, I haven't had so-and-so. Jimmy hasn't smiled in a photo in 5 years, and he'll get them to loosen up and be happy. Occasionally there's someone who's just kind of like the dud of the group that had to be invited. And then, there's no helping that person. And we're just like, whatever, that person is going to be that way. But for the most part, it's both of us do a really good job at that. But sometimes I'm occupied, obviously, doing other things during not only setting everything up, but of course, then I'll be performing. And he can really take care of all of that stuff. So, yeah.
I thank you for saying that part, because you're working on the logistics and all of that. Is his nickname Uncle Dude?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Uncle Dude, i.e. your husband, comes in there and, just supports all of that. And you're on top of everything, but it's just one more layer of either fun, lightness, or whatever needs to get taken care of. You have your support team there. And of course, you do have the people you work with, the vendors, depending on what somebody looks for, whether it's certain type of flowers, whether it's somebody playing a ukulele or whatever instrument, whatever it is, they're all in there too. And I just want to add a side note here. That support staff is not just somebody you Google last minute. These are people you work with all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And like the flowers, I set up all the flowers. I gather them all. I bring them. I have a florist I work with. Sometimes I make the bouquets. Most of the time, if they're complicated, my florist makes the bouquets. Um, I think we might have talked about this before, but Hawaii, just side note, Hawaii has lost a lot of its flower growing. There was a huge article about this last week. Our flower growers have really diminished. When we first started doing this, there was these huge flower markets everywhere, and I could get all sorts of really cool flowers all the time. And now there are fewer and fewer of those. Some of those farms were paved over by the eruption in 2018.
Uh,
And it's also just the land. It's like it's too tempting for them to just sell the land because it's just not as profitable for them. Um, so it's been harder and harder. So my florist, why I love my florist so much is she has connections with all sorts of people. She also knows like, oh, so and so down the road has this bush. And she has relationships with them. So she can like pick the flowers or whatever. And so it's very helpful. So that's a little side note. So I do bring and set up all the flowers myself. But I have
hmm.
someone trusted that I work with. And so she's not on site typically. But all the other, if we have a musician, obviously our professional photographers, these are all people I've worked with many, many times. And so it's a nice little team. We all know how to be with each other, which is great.
This is the And this is so wonderful. The small hometown feel. The florist, yeah, I know the Joneses on Forsythia Boulevard have a beautiful bush that has these certain flowers. Go grab a few. Yeah, this is what it's all about. And to your point, I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and I'm in Long Island, New York, and we grew up in the same town. And I was like kind of surprised. And I said, well, where about were you? She goes, oh, yeah, and there's a big sod farm. I was like,
Mhm.
I know where that is. I was one street over. She goes, oh, it's all gone now. They already put up apartment buildings and everything. I'm like, really? Like that was, kind of nice seeing sprawling, greenery and
Yeah.
all of that. Yeah. So to your point, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But fortunately, because of the climate and the people, you do have flowers, maybe just a little bit less than you used to do.
Yeah, and the big farms, we don't always get what we order. That's the other thing. Like come December, we're in December now, at the time of this podcast taping.
Hmm.
And although we have flowers year round, the flowers are different. It is still winter here. It is a little colder at night, um, and the flowers are different. And people can request flowers, but I always try and tell my couples, especially in December, January, we may or may not be able to get the flowers that you want because like for instance if you want plumerias, this is a terrible time of year for plumerias. um, they smell amazing, they're beautiful, they're definitely a warm weather flower. And although many may consider our weather warm, and it is warm, if the night gets too cold the flowers kind of go into hibernation, and they just don't continue to bloom. They kind of stop and start and stop and start. And so usually it's around February that we start getting the plumerias back. So we have other flowers, but I always prepare people like, hey, if not, I'll call you or let's get a backup plan just in case we can't get those because those cannot be
Well,
shipped. You
that's
can't.
that's what you do in all of this. You manage the expectations. There's
Yeah.
never any surprises. And I've talked to couples you married. Everything, they know what's coming, what's going to happen. You might surprise them with something special if they're open to that kind of thing, but there are no surprises unless you want. And
Right.
that same thing with the flowers. You're going to tell them straight up. By the way, I got to ask, Kona Beach, what's cold at night? Call it December, January.
Um, and by the way, there's no place called Kona Beach.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. We are in Kailua, Kona, Hawaii, but the nickname is Kona, and it's like the whole side of the island. And so in this area, cold. Okay, so it depends. If you're beachside, it might be 70. Um, Up on the mountains, I mean, we get snow up at the top of Mauna Kea, right? So it's snowy at this time of year. Where most people live, though, it might be like 65 is really cold. It might be in the mid to low 60s. But remember, our windows are open most of the time. I mean, there's no like insulation unless you live really far up the mountain, in which case you're going to have like a fireplace and better insulation and such. But so it can feel cold at nighttime. You know, we bring out the winter pajamas and everything.
So I got to ask this question, and this happened to me a couple of weeks ago. I was in Miami, and I was there during the cold snap, where it went from 86 daytime, 49 at night,
Oh, wow.
and
Yeah.
it was breezy too.
Yeah.
But it was a 1 day thing, and I happened to be there then. So I'm at a hotel and called room service. I was like, "Yeah, can you come up here because the heat's not working?" He comes up. I'm like, "I'm setting on everything. It's not working." He goes, "Sir, we don't have heat here."
Yeah.
I'm like, "What?" So I asked, "Do you have heat there?"
Yeah. Oh no, we don't have heat
No,
here. I
okay.
mean, not. I mean, we don't have any air. Here. Like at most places, it's cool enough. So even when it's hot, we have good breezes here. So there's no need for unless you're beachside. Beachside does need air conditioning definitely during the summer. It gets very roasty, but up the mountain just a little bit, we get great breezes. It's always fine. Like you don't need air conditioning, and there's no. If anything, you got to have a space heater. Like no one has heat here. And there are, again, the further up the mountain you go, people will have fireplaces and such. But I don't
Mm.
know anyone who has like heating. Even though it's, well, I suppose, I mean, I've never been to anybody's house that's like, really up. And certainly there's weather stations and things and the observatory up where it snows. And of course they have heat in those buildings because it does get very blustery up there.
So I never asked this question, but you come from upstate New York originally,
Mhm.
and you made your way west, California, lived for a little while, if I remember correctly. Then you made it to Hawaii. A lot of the Hawaiian names, cities, flowers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they're not the easiest ones to pronounce. How did you get into the mode of doing that? Because that would probably be mine and many others, their biggest challenge.
I do run into people who cannot say things. I think I've told you before. I'm a language person. I speak Spanish, a little bit of French, Japanese really well, a little bit of Italian. It's languages come easy to me, so I just listen. And I mean, sometimes I have to ask somebody how to say something a few times, but it's not that hard. So I will gently, if someone butchers like the word Waikoloa and they're like, I mean, my mother-in-law is one of them. No matter, she's been to Hawaii, I don't know how many, probably 100+ times over her years. She lived in Oahu when she was a young teacher and got engaged to my father-in-law because he was in Vietnam. He was stationed at Pearl Harbor. And anyway, they've been here over and over many times, and she is terrible. And my mother is the same way. They cannot say certain words, and we'll like break it down, and we'll be like this, like this, like this. Now, the one thing I do not do, W's are pronounced V in Hawaii, so like Hawaii would be Hawaii, but I don't say it like that. I feel like that is not appropriate for me. I know how it is, but I'm not going to say it that way. Um, I have trouble. If I say something, I'd like it to be authentic. So like the Hawaiian elements in the ceremony, I feel like I try to do that with the most respectful way possible because I don't like I'm not going to chant or do certain things. Like I am not obviously a native Hawaiian. So the elements that I do, I try to bring the spirit of what it means in. And my Hawaiian musicians love my ceremony. And again, they're not shy if I were doing something wrong to tell me. So, um, according to my friends that are Hawaiian, it's about the spirit with which you do something that is the most important. But there are certain things where I just feel like, no, not appropriate.
Hmm.
Um,
Well, it's not what
but
people, again, managing expectations.
yeah,
Somebody is getting married there because they want authenticity, but if it goes too deep, now it's going to be too deep for the room, or if you will, the beach,
yeah,
and it's going to feel a little weird. Now, these are people that aren't from Hawaii
right.
getting married there. If you're from Hawaii, you're probably going to take a different course, and
Yeah.
right?
Although I have been asked by some Hawaiian families to do their wedding, which is a big honor, which means that I'm doing something right. But at
Sure.
the same time, I always say, if my couple said, "Oh, well, I was hoping for a big Hawaiian man," I say, "Well, that is not me." And I can't. I used to have a really sweet gentleman that I worked with who would do ceremonies for me on occasion if they really wanted that big Hawaiian, just like that. That's what they wanted. And he did pass away a few years ago, which is very sad because he was just a lovely human being. But I can certainly find people if that is something that they really want. Most of the time, though, they're like, and again, there's other people that will offer different things, right? It's a different type of things. But most of the time, the people that I get are very, very happy with the ceremony that I have. It has the Hawaiian elements, it has the things that they want, but it's just enough that I always tell them it's not kitschy, right? This is not about just doing something because you're supposed to, but because it means something. Um, and and yet also enough familiar things that they feel comfortable as well. So it's important, sort of that blend. I always feel like the right people find me and I find them. So I feel very happy. So yeah.
It's got to feel so gratifying and beautiful knowing that you're helping to start somebody's lives together and just the most beautiful location. I mean, all of it there. And a lot of pressure and responsibility too. They're coming to you.
Yeah. And that's the one thing we were talking, my husband and I were talking about this earlier. I feel like because of my background, for those of you that have not heard it before, I was an actress for a long time. I also produced shows, and I was also a therapist. I'm prepared for a lot of situations. I don't fluster very easily. I feel like we can roll with the punches, and I always prepare people. Like they're always stressed about. We were talking about the weather. They're always stressed about. Well, I looked at the app and it says it's going to rain. I'm like, do not look at your weather app. It is never right, ever, ever. But on the rare occasion that we have this terrible storm or like something really awful, like we'll make a plan B. We'll just talk about it and we'll figure it out. Like I'm going to get you married, and that is so relieving, I think, for people to hear. Like, I mean, I know how nerve-wracking it can be to look at something and to be worried because you want a really nice day. You know, you want the sunset, but we can't obviously control the weather. But it's just, as we talked about many times before, it's usually not a concern at the beaches that I use. Like almost always they are nice. Almost always like around sunset too. They're just lovely. That is the reason why why there's like all the millionaires are fronting that beach property because it is gorgeous and it's a great weather pocket. But the main thing that I really try to instill is like, don't even worry about it. I got you. If you don't hear from me, the weather is fine. And just don't. And I can't tell you how many brides have said, it was pouring when I left my house, but I remembered you said, don't worry. If I haven't called you, it's fine. And look at it. It's beautiful here. Because I was like, so I'm not going to worry about it because Becky told me not to worry. And that is my ultimate goal, is that they trust that I have them and it's going to be okay, no matter what. So,
you've done almost 800.
yeah.
Like by now you should know what the weather is going to be like. And, there's always that occasional storm that could roll through. You can't control that. But for the most part, that is part of the beauty of Hawaii, where, the weather is pretty predictable. What's the most unusual thing that somebody's asked? I don't want to say unusual, but interesting, different requests that you had to fulfill or even attempt to fulfill?
I think that's hard to say. I think the biggest thing, and I think I mentioned this once, back when Game of Thrones was on, I did have a couple and they got married on leap year. It was a leap year. So they wanted to get married on February 29th. And she was an artist and I can't remember what he was, but they wanted sort of a Game of Thrones theme throughout their ceremony. They still wanted the Hawaiian elements, but they wanted some Game of Thrones language put in there. So I sort of added just a few things to the ceremony to make them feel like, it was the theme that they wanted. And hang on, the cat just walked into the room and I have the door closed.
I don't see it or I don't even hear it. I have this dream of like bringing my cats to the studio here. I would love that. Or my dog. He travels well, them not so much.
She has a cat door that comes into my office, and usually the door is open, but I close it when we're doing the podcast just in case there's excess noise. And I thought, oh, she's going to start going. So I have a cat named Peepers. She's
part of the family. She's part of the family. Wow.
Yes.
So Game of Thrones, you had to interpret that to a ceremony.
Yeah, I mean, people will ask me, I usually say, if there's anything special you want me to incorporate, let me know, and I'll see what I can do me to co-officiate with a family member, I usually add in the Hawaiian elements if that's the case. And that also eliminates the necessity if they don't want to get ordained to perform a ceremony. I can sign the papers if I do certain parts of the ceremony. And then there's certain, I don't think I've ever had to say no to someone about certain things, unless it's not allowed on the beach, right? So there's certain things that are just not allowed. But otherwise, I'll do my best. That's the other thing. So I have a ceremony, but unlike other people, I don't have it posted on my website because it's different, a little bit different every single time. Like I have the frame and the outline, and it's pretty much the same, but I customize it for each person, depending on their needs. Like sometimes I'll make jokes, sometimes I won't make jokes, sometimes there's things that happen, and it's like, it's important to read the room, right? What does this couple need at this moment and this time? So just like any, I liken it to being on stage, right? So I performed in New York many times, and occasionally something happens and somehow you get off script a little bit. And then if you know the play well enough, you can get everyone back on track. And I always feel like that's my job, is to keep the show going, no matter what is happening. So yeah.
Well, your background supports what you do, and that is there's a psychology aspect, there's a performance aspect, logistics, another aspect. I'm probably leaving stuff out here, but all of it kind of feeds into what you're doing. And there's where the magic takes place. I truly believe it.
Yeah, it's so fun. I mean, I just feel so lucky every single day. And again, I have the nicest people that come to me. On our next show, I have a couple that I married just a couple weeks ago who's going to be our guest. So that should be really fun. And yeah, I'm just really, really looking forward to all of that stuff. So yeah, it should be a
Awesome.
great time. Yeah.
So somebody considering it, or somebody knows somebody else, what's the best way to find you?
I would say my website is always the best way to start. You can find my phone number on there, but I usually say fill out the contact form, because then I will send you, you'll get an automatic email, and then I'm going to personally email you back within 24 to 72 hours. We'll set up a time for a Zoom call so that we can get to know each other. So you want to go to my website, which is simpleKonaBeachWeddings.com, and fill out the form on there, and I will be excited to talk to you. So yeah.
Starts with a conversation that you might even get to talk to Uncle Dude. You never know. You never know. He might walk into the room, and you do a lot of Zooms with people too in the beginning, and even during the project, the process, so they get a better feel. Becky, great talking with you. Looking forward next time. Bring some company. We'll talk to couples you marry.
Great. Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.